Hi, and welcome to Fork in the Road. I'm Sheree Clark. People ask me all the time why I call my practice and the show Fork in the Road, and I'm happy to answer. You see, like me, most of us have had different forks in the road at different points in our lives. In fact, we face them every day. What to eat, whether or not to work out, whether to recycle. Those are the kinds of questions I think we each face every single day, and those are the kinds of topics we're going to be exploring on this show. So join me today as we go on our first journey to visit with a chef from San Francisco who will tell us a little bit about her journey in eating more raw food. Then we're going to take a little trip to the farmer's market and we're going to meet some of the farmers that grow our food, and they're going to tell us why we should pick certain items. And then finally, I'll bring you back here to the kitchen and we'll whip up a recipe that you can serve in no time. Join me, come on along on the journey right after this message. I get excited about all the guests we have here on Fork in the Road, but today I'm particularly excited. Today we're going to be joined by Jennifer Cornbleet, a dear friend of mine and somebody I've known for several years. In fact, let me tell you a little bit about Jenny. I met her first in 2007 when I went to the Living Light Culinary Institute to study and become a raw vegan chef myself. Jenny was my instructor, and she's the one that pushed me over the edge and made me think I can do this raw thing. And she's really the reason why I stuck with it. Jenny, welcome. So tell me about your food journey and how you got there.
Well, I've loved to cook my entire life, and I became a vegetarian at an early age when I was 10. And my parents didn't really know what to do with that, so that kind of sparked my interest in reading cookbooks and learning what I could, and my dad helped me play around in the kitchen, and so I had this love of cooking vegetables and healthy food from a really young age. And then many years later, I met a holistic health practitioner who followed a mostly raw diet and suggested that I include more raw foods in my diet. And it intrigued me because I really trusted him, and I just decided to give it a try, not really knowing what to expect. And I noticed after a month of just eating a lot more fruits and smoothies and salads and juices, I felt so much more energized, and I was sleeping better, I had more energy, I just really loved the way I felt. And I also love the creative aspect of it because I do love to cook, and it felt like there were so many more options with fresh produce and natural foods, so many interesting combinations I could play with that I'd never tried before. So I love the creative aspect of it. And I don't eat 100% raw foods. I do like to be flexible and for social situations, but I do eat a lot of raw food, a high percentage of it, and I just love the way it makes me feel, and I love how fun it is to play with.
What do you eat?
Well, I eat a mostly vegetarian diet. Again, not even totally strict there, but you know, 80% of the time, 90% of the time. For breakfast and lunch, I almost always eat raw. I love green smoothies and juices. I love big salads and dips and sauces, and so I do that for breakfast and lunch. And then for dinner, I'm a little more flexible with friends, my husband. Usually it's vegetarian, but I like to be a little bit flexible, but I love eating raw as much as I can.
What exactly is raw food, and is it something you could define?
Sure. Well, a lot of people think it means food that isn't cooked or isn't heated, and it does mean that, but it also just means food in its natural state, you know, like the expression something in its raw state. So it's food that isn't processed or refined. That might seem like a limited type of food, but there's actually so many different vegetables and fruits and nuts and seeds and so many ways you can combine them that it can become an incredible cuisine.
So when it comes to heat, where's the cutoff?
So most people say that the cutoff for it to be raw is 118 degrees. I've heard different things, 105, a little higher, but it's in that vicinity. And so that just, you could warm things up a little bit, but you're not going to be cooking at high temperatures.
What's the concern about using heat in the first place?
Well, when you cook foods at high temperatures, and different foods are different, but a lot of them lose the vitamins, minerals, enzymes. It changes the structure of the food, breaks down the fiber. And it depends on the food. So, for example, steamed broccoli, which is cooked, is not going to be particularly unhealthy the way, a croissant might be or something. So there's a spectrum, it doesn't just break down to raw versus cooked, but fresh fruits and vegetables, for example, and natural fats like nuts and seeds and avocados, their nutrients are best preserved when they're eaten in their natural raw state.
Is it difficult?
Is it difficult? I actually find it incredibly easy and simple because I do like to focus on easy recipes. So I find that putting together smoothies and salads and simple dips is so much easier than cooking complicated dishes. I think that any kind of food preparation, whether it's raw or cooked, can be easy or complicated. There's different ways to do it, but I find it really, really simple and easy.
What tips would you give somebody who wants to get started?
Well, the first thing I would say is if you can change your breakfast, that tends to be the easiest thing for people to do because it's a simpler meal, it's not as social. People are already used to eating like raw fruit for breakfast, so it's not as much of a leap. And it's so easy to eat raw for breakfast. You could have fresh fruit or you can make one of those green smoothies. If you want to be a little more ambitious, you could get into juicing. But even just with fruit and green smoothies, it's one of the easiest things to change. And by changing that, you've already changed maybe even 30% of your diet.
And what about alcohol?
Yeah, alcohol. So, technically wine would be raw if you're concerned about that. And I personally don't drink much alcohol just because I don't like the way it makes me feel. But there's kind of different philosophies on how healthy it is it not healthy, kind of the jury's out. And I think maybe people are different in the way they react to it. And if someone enjoys a glass of wine and feels good about that, I see nothing wrong with that.
Do you see the raw food lifestyle becoming more mainstream?
The raw food lifestyle, well, I think there's a lot of diversity, among people and what they do and what they're like. I tend to be a little bit more on the kind of flexitarian side of things, and then you have other people who eat only fruit or eat all raw, or there's a whole spectrum, But I think a lot of people interested in raw also are interested in organic and sustainable farming. They tend to be interested in being more vegetarian. Tend to be interested in protecting the environment and other aspects of a healthy lifestyle, exercise, meditation. A lot of these things seem to go hand in hand.
One of my favorite activities every week is going to the farmer's market. Today I'm at one of the biggest farmer's markets in the country, and I've invited my friend Brooke to come along. Brooke, welcome.
Thank you, and I appreciate the invitation because you know what? The farmer's market really scares me.
Oh.
I actually kind of avoid it because I look in all directions and all I see is tents, and I really don't know what to do. But I noticed you had us meet at the information booth, so there's got to be some reason we're here.
There's a good reason to meet at the information booth. Just like it says, lots of info. They're going to be able to tell you who's here this week, and not all the vendors are here every week. They'll also be able to tell you who's certified organic, where's the ATM, where are the restrooms, wealth of information.
So you told me that because we've met early that I should probably wear a jacket, and you were darn right.
Yes.
What else do you do to prepare to make the most out of your time at the farmer's market?
Good question. Well, I bring certain things. You'll notice I have my sunglasses on my head, and even though I don't need them right now, I might at some point if we're walking into the sun. In my purse, I've got small bills because I don't know that the vendors are going to be able to change my larger bills. Some of them take credit cards, but I don't usually do that. I don't want to wait around. I want to keep shopping. I also have brought a cart.
Yes.
And the cart's really handy, especially if I buy anything big or heavy.
One of the things that I always worry about is that I'm going to buy something at this booth and then like 5 booths later I'm going to find something so much better.
Well, don't worry about that. Here's the thing. It may just happen. And my advice to you is if you find something that you like better, buy that one too. Get them home and compare, because first of all, don't judge a book by its cover or a tomato by its skin. One that looks really good might not taste as good as the other one. So be adventuresome. And remember, it's not a big investment. You spent a few dollars on some tomatoes and you didn't need them. Oh well.
Well, I'm excited, so let's get started.
Me too. Let's go.
Okay.
Alrighty, you're gonna like this. I'd like to introduce you to Jill and Sean.
Hi, Jill. Hi, Sean.
Good morning. We're gonna buy some honey today, and I thought I would defer to you since you're the expert. Would you give us a quick honey primer?
Sure. This is a later summer honey. It's a little darker. Had you been here in the spring, we had lighter honey.
Yes,
or
I
early
remember,
summer.
yeah.
So it'd be lighter in color. That's because that's what the nectar in the floral sources is. It's lighter in the spring, darker as the year progresses. So you get into the fall, you have goldenrod and aster and really darker pollen.
Do they taste different?
Yes, they'll have a richer. It's like beer, a very light colored beer. It's a light, easy flavor, and the darker they get, the more complex and rich they get.
Oh, Sean, what about this?
Comb honey
Yeah.
that's truly just from the hive. So instead of to get this honey, we have to scrape off the top of the wax, and we put it in a spinner, and it spins and throws it out. But this is just all the bees have made that. They've made the wax, they put the honey in, they sealed it. It's perfect honey. It's as raw as you can get. So we just cut it out of a frame, put it in a box. I eat it like a snack. Just take a spoonful of it, chew it. Sometimes I will eat the wax as well. Sometimes I dispose of the wax. But
So the wax is edible.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no nutritional value to it.
Sure,
but it's
not going to hurt you.
Oh no, it's great.
And it's raw, so you know that appeals to me.
Yeah. Now it's really great on hot bread, hot biscuits, because with the whole wax
It
and
would
all, you just
melt.
ooze it all together. You have nice texture, and it's really wonderful.
Well, it sounds like you know what you're doing, and you love it.
I've been doing it for about 8 years, and I will never say I know what I'm doing, because bees are a wonderful, fascinating creature. They've been doing this for thousands and thousands of years, and they've come up with the perfect food. You know, honey doesn't go bad.
Right.
It will not spoil. It will crystallize. If it gets cold, it'll become crystallized and solid.
Right.
And that you can still use it, spread it, use it. Well, but if you want to take it back from crystallization, just put it in a very warm windowsill, on a radiator, or even in a pot of hot water.
And then it'll
Don't
get
nuke it,
smooth.
and it'll go back to its liquid golden form. But yeah, don't nuke it, because that's going to kill too many of the wonderful good
Enzymes.
stuff in it, and probably alter the flavor.
And this honey is raw.
Yes.
So what makes it raw?
Raw means it hasn't been heated or treated. So we haven't flavored it. It's just what you get.
It is what it is.
And
Unpasteurized.
It's not pasteurized. And usually honey is heated not necessarily for pasteurization, but for ease of working it. The more thin it is, it's like an oil. You know, the motor oil, the thinner it is, the easier it is to work with it and to fill bottles and to do things. When you don't heat it, then it's thicker. You have to be more patient and fill the bottle slower, and just everything is a little bit slower.
And we're not patient.
Right. And it's always good to do it on a really warm day, because obviously you put it in the spinner, it's going to get thick. So you want to do it when the temperature, the honey itself and the comb is warm.
Wow. I'm sold.
This is
How about
amazing.
you?
Yeah, I had no idea.
No.
Thank you so much.
Why don't we go up here to Crooked Creek? I really like their produce, and they'll be very helpful to us. I also really like the melons here, and I buy those typically first because I put them on the bottom of the cart. So if there's tomatoes in there, I don't squish them.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you have some method to your madness.
I absolutely do. You
Okay.
bet. Crooked Creek also has some decent cucumbers today, and I did notice when we walked by they have some jalapeno peppers, and I'm going to make some poppers this weekend.
So how do I know what kind of jalapeno peppers to buy?
Well, a lot of times I ask them, but I do have my own personal preferences. I like red peppers as opposed to green. They taste a little bit better, they're sweeter, they're easier to digest. But some of what I've learned from the vendors themselves. Hi, good morning, Connie. How are you?
Glad to have you down
This
here.
is my friend Brooke, and she asked me.
Nice to meet you.
She's asked me if you'd help us pick out a melon.
Oh, that'll be great. That'd be great. Are you looking for a muskmelon or watermelon?
I'm thinking of muskmelon today.
Muskmelon? Okay. So I always like to give them a little smell down here where their little belly button is. Mm-hmm. And that one smells really sweet. You see what you think. How are you?
Oh. This is a keeper.
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
See what I'm saying? It's really helpful, and you can get all kinds of wonderful tips and pointers.
A lot of times people think that the only good produce comes from the big supermarkets. And the local farmers have great produce. And it's fresh. It hasn't sat there, picked green, and then taken to the store to ripen.
It's also less expensive.
It is.
The price on this melon is $2. At the store, it's quite a bit more.
Quite a bit more. Quite a bit more.
Well, Connie, it was great to meet you, and I'll be back to visit you.
Please.
You know, there's so many facets to the farmers market and so much to see and learn and do. We're going to be coming back for future shows, I'm just sure of it. There's lots more to come. Hi and welcome back. Isn't this food delicious looking? I'm going to show you how to make all of these dishes and even a few more. The best part about it is you don't have to have prior experience, you don't need a lot of fancy equipment, you don't have to know anything except for what I'm going to show you. So, come on along with me, let's get started. I don't know about you, but I'm a snacker. And one of the times I really like to snack is when I'm at the movies. The problem is when you go to the theater, there aren't a lot of healthy options. You know what I'm talking about. So today we're going to be making what I call popcorn. It's actually not made out of popcorn. It's actually not made with oil. It doesn't have butter. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is cauliflower popcorn. And with all of our recipes, like today, we're going to be looking first at the recipe itself. So I've got the recipe written here, and you're going to be able to access the recipe by visiting the website www.fork-road.com. The first thing that we're going to do is look at the ingredient list. We make sure that we have all of the ingredients, and we sure do. They're all assembled right here. And actually, when I do a recipe, that's what I like to do. Get everything out at once. It makes it go a lot faster. I've got my cauliflower out. It's been unwrapped, and I'm going to show you a quick and easy way to make the cauliflower usable. I'll take the cauliflower floret, the head, and I'm going to take my knife and cut it right down the middle. And you see how that was a little bit unstable? That's the only cut I'm going to do that is unstable. Now I'm going to put the cut side down on my cutting board, cut it in half yet again. So now I've got 1/4 of a head of cauliflower. Then the next step is to simply cut down this way, and I'm left with the pretty edible part. I'm going to take the bowl that I've already got started and simply with my hands break off little pieces. Now what I've got are bite-sized pieces of cauliflower that I'm going to take now and put into a Ziploc bag. So into the bag. Now we're going to take those ingredients that are on the rest of the recipe and add them to the bag. So I'm going to take and drizzle just a little bit of olive oil. There are measurements on your recipe. I'm not a measurer, so if you are, that's perfectly fine, and you can go ahead and just be diligent about what exactly you're putting there. I've made this enough time, I kind of do it to taste. Some garlic powder. I'm going to use a little bit of sea salt, and I use an unrefined salt. This is a pink Himalayan fine crystal salt. It's beautiful. Put that in there. I'll put some fresh cracked pepper. I like it when I mill it fresh rather than getting it directly from a container. My last ingredient is going to be nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast is going to give this a little bit of a nice cheesy flavor. Nutritional yeast is a really good source of vitamin B12. It's really good, especially if you're vegetarian or vegan or you're cutting down on your meat supplies. That's a great source for that nutrient. Now what I'm going to do is add just a tiny little bit of water so that everything sticks to the cauliflower. I'm going to Ziploc the close and simply shake. Voila, my snack is done. So that's our show for this week. I hope that you've enjoyed the journey and that you've learned something along the way. If you'd like additional information, please visit our website at www.fork-road.com. Please join us again next week, and in the meantime, may all your forks in the road be healthy.